Hello, and welcome to another edition of our Coffee Chat series, where we sit down with professionals across different sectors, have the conversations that matter to our digital community, especially for MSMEs that are currently not getting goods in Nigeria. My name is Hope, and today we're diving into a topic that every business eventually faces, which is how to work smarter, build strong teams, and stay efficient as you grow. And our guest today is someone who lives at the intersection of operations, sport, and practical tools, Princess Edokpayi. Hello, Princess.
Hi, Hope. Hi, everyone. My name is Princess Edokpayi. I like to call myself an operator, and part of what I've done for the past couple of years is to sort of help organizations get the right people that would work to sort of ensure that they meet their goals. I mean, a lot of times people say that money is very, very important. Getting capital, getting financing for your business is very important. But what people fail to understand is the most important thing of all is the people, because when you don't have the right people on your team, you can't meet your goals and you can't even make money. And when you're not doing any of this, what's the essence of your business? So it's nice to be here with you, Hope, and to sort of give my 2 cents on the topic.
Okay, thank you very much, Princess, for sharing that. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
So we'll just dive right into the conversation for today. And I'll start with this. Many business owners, they operate in reactive mode. They are basically solving issues as they come, rather than planning actions for them. So in your experience so far with businesses, what would you say is the biggest operational challenge that these businesses face when it comes to managing people?
For me, right, let me start from the reactive mode. I got to work with a very intelligent man recently, and one thing he told me was that when you fail to plan adequately, you are always firefighting. And planning is not just about saying, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that. It is also putting the right systems in place. It's also putting the right structure in place. So when issues happen or when things arise, those your systems or those your structures are what will be fighting for you, and not you just running up and down and exhausting all the energy that you should be putting in more strategic and important things, right? So that's the first thing. That is one of the reason I see that people go into that reactive mode instead of always being like on the proactive side of things. When you don't have the right systems, for example, when a new team member comes into the system or your organization, what is the onboarding process like? How easy it is for them to integrate into your system when, even after the onboarding process? Because I feel like onboarding never stops within an organization. I think people say, oh, after the first 1 month, after the first 2 months, it stops. I don't think so. I think onboarding and it's a forever thing because businesses are always evolving. Businesses are always changing tactics. They are always changing directions. Our most used word, businesses are always pivoting. So people are always learning. The systems are always changing. People have to get accustomed to those new changes, and people have to learn how to integrate into those systems, even the guys on your team. So just putting the right structures in place, putting the right people in place, putting the right workflows, using the right tools, using the right technology is what's going to make a huge difference in you always firefighting and you just being relaxed in all situations. Even when people are saying, but this is going wrong, why are you so chilled? Hope has it covered. There's already a system there. So you are just relaxed and you're focusing on the important things.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. Just a follow up to that, what you mentioned around structure. When you look at businesses, whether they're small businesses or big corporations, what is the telltale sign that this business actually needs structure?
I think a lot of people think that the only time you need structure is when you are at the growth stage, right? I don't think so, because when you now get to those like that growth stage and you are not able to sort of build, and it's going to be a huge change for people on the team. Now, again, just going back to what I've learned recently, that culture is what you allow. So when people are getting into an organization, there should already be a structure, even if you have just 2 people in place, even if you are just 4 people on the team, even though you are just 3 people on the team, even if you are just 5, even if you are 100 on the team, as long as you're about to start a business, a legal business, a legal entity, something that you know is going to live ahead of you, something that is going to stand the test of time, something you wish that would grow, I don't think there's actually a time for you to even say, okay, this is the right time for us. From the beginning, there has to be structure. From the beginning, there has to be a process of how do we manage our funds? What is the process for requisition? Or do you just go around spending money? There has to be a process. There has to be a structure. There has to be a workflow. So, for example, are you telling me that there's no workflow, there's no structure when it comes to when people get into the organization? So are you saying just anybody can go and onboard them? Are you saying that you can just give them anything? In fact, you give them the entire password of your team. So there has to be a structure from ground up, right? Even when you're two on a team. So there's actually, I can't say that. Because a lot of people are saying when you're at the growth stage, when you're about raising money, then you should have an organizational structure. No. I think I've worked with a business in the past and I think there were only 5 on the team, but they had a full-blown organizational chart. And having a system in place would help you to be more forward thinking, right? It will help you to say, okay, this is where we are now and this is where we want to be. And you then work towards achieving that structure, that desired structure, that desired vision that you want for the organization. So I just think from the very beginning, from the first time you think about a business, start building your structure. What do you want it to look like?
Thank you very much. That was very descriptive. I'm sure a lot of people can really understand, especially those that are still, some of the business owners that are still going. A lot of businesses in Nigeria are very lean. Like you mentioned, some of them have one staff, or one intern, one freelancer that is just helping out, from what you've seen, what are the people and cultural mistakes that business owners make early on in setting up their businesses? How roles can be very unfair. Everybody's doing everything. But just expecting everybody to get it, to be able to do it, be able to do the tasks. So how can business owners avoid these mistakes, without hiring like a full team and being able to still manage their costs?
So I think the very first thing, one of the mistakes that we kind of made in the beginning, one of the mistakes I sort of was making in the beginning was I wanted to hire people that looked like the already existing leaders within the organization. So let's take, for example, Hope is the CEO and Hope likes to read. Hope likes to travel. She likes to attend conferences. So I was typically going to, anybody that was going to come into the organization typically needed to be a growth-minded, no, let me not say that, needed to be somebody who could go to conferences, needed to be somebody who could travel, who liked traveling, who liked books, who liked reading, who was an extrovert, who everybody needed to be like that. And that was a very big mistake because I found out that like unconsciously, I was trying to hire people that looked like me or that looked like those of us in leadership. And one thing we don't actually need, or one thing I discovered that we didn't need was that we didn't need people who were, because at the time my co-founder was a very result-driven oriented person, and I was more of the we need to do this. I was more of the person that would do, okay, this is what we need to do. Let's get on the ground. Let's do it. Gather the people, set up the structure, start working on it. Like I was very hands-on and very dirty, put my hands into the work and all of that. And a lot of times when I wanted to get people on the team, I would always get people who wanted to do the work, who would be awake with me, who would want to build those slide decks and all of that. But then I forgot that we needed people who were creatives, who could think outside the box, because I already felt that since she was there, she would obviously be the person to do it. But then you need more people who are thinkers, people who are strategists, people who could say, Princess, I like what you've done, but this is another way to do it. But because I already had people on the team who thought like I would think, who would do things like I would do, there was no difference. There was nobody to challenge what we were already doing. And the only thing that makes a difference and brings you from one step to another step is when somebody's able to sort of challenge the status quo and make it, not just challenge it, but make it better, right? Another thing that we sort of, I think a lot of people make is, I think now they call it a coven, but people say we are family. Dar. We are not too. So, I understand where people are trying to go. They want to build a community. They want to make everybody feel involved. But then when you say we are family, it sort of leads to blurring the lines, the boundaries. Oh, this is my boss. This is who I am and the intern. And then you're not able to hold people accountable, right? Because, I mean, technically, I know you hold your family accountable, but then lies are blurred and you're like, oh, let me just leave this person. This person is my person, right? So right now, what I currently do is I treat the team like we are a basketball team. Mind me to use that analogy. I treat the team like they are a basketball team. I mean, we care about each other, but we are here to perform. We are here to work. We are here to execute. We are here to ensure that we get the desired results. So, I mean, basketball players, in the sense they don't term themselves as family, or sports teams don't term themselves as family, but they care about the next person. Oh, please don't get injured, we need to win at this time, please. So that, I think it's because the word care comes into a team, they tend to sort of interchange the word care with family. I personally, I don't like when I mean, to me, it's a red flag when you come into a team and they're saying, oh, we are one big family. I'm like, okay. I'm always like, okay. And I always try to tell my clients to sort of change their narrative around family. And I think the last one is, I would like to call this the overdoes. Permit me to use that word. I'll just call it the overdoes. So for a startup company, right, you don't need a full-blown HR team, or you don't need a full-blown, what's it called? You are a startup, and then you are having like head of HR, head of talent management. Then head of talent management will now have two or three interns under them. They will not have those other four. You're a startup, for crying out loud. You don't need I know a lot of people get crazy with titles. They want to know that they have a director of HR, a director of talent and culture. You don't need a full HR team. I'm going to speak to that because that's my area. All you just need to do, and what I've learned is that you just need a clear culture handbook, or say maybe an HR manual, and then you need an onboarding checklist. And then with all of that will come clear expectations, like set expectations at the beginning of every onboarding call. Let people understand that this is what we want, this is what we stand for, these are our values, this is our culture, this is what our culture is, and all of that. And I believe that the sensible ones will follow, right? And just that expectation just makes things better. So no need for you to, when somebody wants to get into a team, they need to go through like 5 HR personnels before they are come on. You are just a startup. Maybe when you are like the Dangotes and the Hairs Holdings and all of that, you can start having that. But as a startup who has a lean team, I don't think you need all that like HR person. Just recently, I just discovered that, what's it called? Money Africa. They just hired their first HR manager. And Money Africa has been in town for a very long time doing great work.
Wow. Yeah.
But they got their first HR manager this year. I mean, it's good because they're trying to put structure into things. I think they see the importance of structure in a way now. But they have so much great talent on their team. And that's just to show you that you don't need 100 HR people to get the best results or to get the right people on your team.
Thank you very much. This is very, very interesting already. Moving ahead, Princess, many business owners they rely on flexible talent, like we mentioned earlier, with the interns, the freelancers, contract staff, and even remote workers.
Okay.
Actually, because of how tough the economy can be in Nigeria lately. So, what advice would you give to business owners that are hiring, managing and keeping flexible talents while, still making sure that the quality does not drop? And then how can they stay in control of the work without micromanaging people and then, stressing themselves out?
Okay. I think that doesn't just go for freelancers and, permit me to say, consultants. I think it goes for everybody that's working a remote team. I think a lot of times people sort of track number of hours online more than the deliverables, which in my own opinion hasn't made sense to me till now, because you have someone who is online for, you say you work 8 hours a day, and you have somebody who's online all 8 hours, glued to their screen, and is always only able to deliver 1 out of 10 tasks. But you have somebody who is able to give her work solid 6 hours and is able to deliver 10/10 of her work. Why are you still castigating this person because they don't do 8 hours? So my first advice is, please, can we stop tracking time online and actually tracking outcomes? Start tracking deliverables. Was this person able to achieve? Was this person able to help us achieve our goals? Let me tell you, the hardest workers are not the performers, are not the best performers. Let me tell you, the people that are online 247 are not the people that perform the best from what I've seen. Right? I've been told that when you are able to put 4 hours of good time into a work, there's no how you cannot produce great results. And by philosophy for every work that I do is, if I've spent 15 minutes on a particular task and I don't see that I'm getting any headway, I stop doing that thing immediately and go to the next thing, and then I come back to it when I have a fresher perspective. Another thing again is sort of a lot of people want to get freelancers, a lot of people want to get consultants, but I always tell them about SOPs, right? I tell them, and I would always say this, never try to outsource or never try to give a task out to anybody, freelancer, consultant, until you have documents or you have SOPs, you have things that have been documented in the ways of working of your organization. So what is the way of doing something within this organization? What's the ways of working within this organization? Right? You have to have that SOP, because if you don't give them that, I call it a map. If you don't give them that map, if you don't give them that initial do's and don'ts, right? Don't be surprised when people get lost. They don't know the right tools to use for what. They don't know what your logo is. They don't know where they should submit their task. Or, for example, the policy is do not submit uneditable documents or PDF, and then your consultant or your freelancer is submitting PDFs everywhere. So if you don't give them that SOP, they will not know. Now, another thing again that, is something that I think I would try is, and we used to do this, is what we call trial periods or giving people trial projects, right? If, for example, we want to hire a consultant, for example, and the project is going to be for 8 months, we never try to interview or we never try to hire them based on the particular interview that we have done. What we do is we sort of give them a trial project or a trial task for them to do and bring back. That way, we are able to examine and evaluate how they would perform on a much larger scale, on a much larger task, and over a longer period of time, right? And just then, in terms of how can they be in control without micromanaging, again, you have technology is your friend. We have different project management tools. A very important one that I always preach and talk about is Sync, right? Sync would help you sort of manage your task, help you manage your team, help you manage whatever it is that you want to manage within your team. Sync help you do that, right? He does that for you in such a way that you don't need to, when you don't know what's happening with a particular task, you don't necessarily have to go and meet the person to say, okay, what's happening? Sync clearly tells you these are the tasks that has been assigned to Hope, for example. And then it then says, okay, this is what she has done. This is what she hasn't done. These are the deliverables. You can attach your files and all of that. Technology does that for you. That way you're not micromanaging. Another way to avoid micromanaging is to have touch points. Right? When we used to have projects, one thing we would do is we'll come on the calls and then we'll have touch points meetings, right? Every touch points meeting we'll talk about is almost like an agile, right? You talk about what worked, what didn't work, who's your blocker, how can we do things better? That way, everybody has an oversight of what is happening on that particular task or that particular project, both internal and external. And then you have your technology or your project management tool to sort of back that out. And then you are able to see what's happening overall within the project. And another thing that people fail to do a lot of times is, especially when you're hiring freelancers and it's over for a long period of time to time, have reviews with them. If it's a weekly review or a monthly review, just to help them understand what they're doing right and what they're not doing right. Because these people really need feedback. A lot of these people are not used to this sort of professional environments that we all work in, and then just giving them that extra guidance would not only help you, but you also help them, so that in the event that they're not performing, you have objective data to show that, oh, this person is not doing well, instead of you constantly calling every 1 hour, every 2 hours, every other hour, telling them to submit or telling them to be on a 5-hour call while they do the work. I don't think that works anymore. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I agree with you. I think the review and the feedback, process is really, really important.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's just for the freelancers or the remote workers, for the team as well, because it helps the team members know what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, how they can improve. Yes. So, Princess, one thing that we hear a lot from business owners is how everything still holds back to them to do. Some tasks fall through, follow up with extra time and energy that they could put into other tasks. They end up having to be the one reminding the team, reminding team members for everything. What are some of the practical things that businesses can start doing today to improve accountability? I know you've mentioned the tools like Sync, but to improve accountability, clarity, and collaboration within the team, especially for our Nigerian work environment.
Funny thing you would talk about accountability, because I had this issue some days back when I was speaking with a colleague and we're talking about a particular task that was assigned to their team. And then one thing he said was that, but when they shared the task, they did not call anybody's name now. They just said project management team, do this. And I always say that when you say project management, do this, you have said nobody should do it, because I will be waiting for you. You will be waiting for me. The next person will be waiting for me. So nobody's going to end up just lying fallow. And he was like, when his boss came on the call and was like, project your screen, please. I would like to see the project. And everybody was like, So I think one thing I always tell people when they share tasks is have a single point of accountability, right? For every single task, for every single project, there has to be only one name attached. Because if everyone is responsible for something, nobody's responsible. And that's why I love, for people that cannot work this system, that's why I love the RACI table. RACI. It's the RACI table. It is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. For every project, every task, if you have a RACI table, he tells you who is primarily responsible for that task, who is going to be held accountable if that task is not done or if it's done, who is supposed to be consulted based on information or details that you need, and who is supposed to be informed that either that work is in progress, if it's completed, or who should have a look at it, give me feedback and all of that. A RACI table helps all the time. Another thing is, like you said, going back to our project management tools, right? You should be able to track your projects, or your tasks. Those things should be able to assign people to those different tasks and make sure it's visible. I think visibility is something that, if you are seeing everybody doing their work and you are not, shame will catch you. You go back to the drawing board and say, okay, they've praised this person has done the work, only me 1%. I think I need to step up my game, right? Yeah. It's visible to everybody to see what everybody's achievements and what everybody's bringing to the table, right? If you don't do that, you find out that you are spending, I don't like to use the word spending. You'll be wasting hours in update meetings. You would see that in fact, you can be in an update meeting. I've been in an update meeting for 3 hours. We're giving update on something that could easily have been on a project. No jokes. We're giving update on something that could have actually been on a project management tool and would have just like, okay, this is where we are. This is what needs to be done. Give me feedback on this. What is 3 hours? I think it was more than 3 hours. We were on that call for such a long, I was exhausted. So, just have those workflows. Make sure you sort of assign some, and culture is very important. From the beginning, when you're onboarding them, I say it's almost like when you're bringing a child into a society. It's how you bring them, how you onboard them, how you integrate them into that society is how they will behave. So when you are bringing them into your team, help them understand that we have a culture of accountability or collaboration here. If you cannot take ownership of your tasks, better walk out the door, because we are all about ownership here. And another thing, again, in terms of collaboration and accountability is, once in a while, have check-ins. So one thing that I see that has worked for certain teams is having Ask Me Anything sessions. We call them AMA sessions. Ask Me Anything, right? AMA sessions. And what happens during those sessions is you go there, you ask your questions, you give updates on your task, you are able to say, okay, this is what I did, this is what I've done, this is what I'm currently doing, this is what is blocking me from doing what I'm or achieving my goals. I tell everybody this, and just because I've worked with a doctor in the past, he would say, keep it short and very surgical. Like, keep it very sharp, keep it very straight. Don't waste our time. We have better things to be doing. Just talk about where your problem. I think the most important thing is we don't want to always hear like problems. We also want to hear, but this is how I'm thinking about solving this solution, or I've thought about it this way. Is there a better way for us to sort of do this? Right? I mean, those sort of things kind of help. And that's why you need to have people that have like, they're very intuitive, right? On your team, people that have initiative on your team, right? And that helps a lot. And it also helps with productivity and all of that. So basically, those are like the major strategies that I can think of right off the hat that you can sort of use to sort of foster a culture of sort of accountability, collaboration within your team.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to follow up on what you talked about, one of the tools that you've mentioned, of which you're one of the minds behind, is Sync, that can help us, keep track of our tasks, who is responsible for what, and then just keep people accountable. Can you tell us a little bit more about Sync? What it can do for businesses and where we can find it for those of us who would like to use it?
Okay. All right. Sync is I'll just start by saying that Sync is an all-in-one like workspace, right? It's a typically a workspace. It is a space where you can manage your project. I mean, manage your team as a whole, right? From assigning tasks to even making payments to your freelancers and your consultants to sort of approving, giving feedback on the task. We have a communication system within the platform. We have within the platform, you also are able to sort of have a dashboard to see what's happening across your various projects, right? I mean, all in one, it's a toolkit that can help you scale your team. And as your business scales, it scales with you, right? There is no, we can't see this. Everything is very visible for everybody on the team, right? And then you can attach your documents, you can share links, you can invite people, both external and internal people, to look at what's going on within your project in case you want to involve your external stakeholders into the visibility of your project. Basically, Sync is live, very much live. You can find it at www.teamsync.com. There's a trial version. I think it's for 30 days. And then it's very, very affordable. I think for a year, it's less than 850,000 naira. But I think it's around $90 now. But yeah, I think Sync is a must-have for any business that is looking to grow, that is looking to scale, that is looking to do better, that is looking to get the most out of their teams and that project, to get like enough productivity from everybody. And you don't have to just, like I said, you don't have to spend hours on meetings. Everything is already visible for everybody to see. It's clear right there.
Thank you very much. First, I hope we've all heard what you said about Sync, and I hope that we can, take advantage of the free trial just to see what it does.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so we're going to wrap up the session for today. But before that, I just want to add that if you had one piece of advice to give any business owner who is trying to build an efficient and sustainable workflow, what would it be? And what should business owners start putting in place now so that their systems grow with them instead of becoming a problem later?
So I think the first thing I will always say is whatever is recurring, all those predictable tasks, I'll just say automate those predictable tasks so that you can humanize the ones that are exceptional. So what do I mean? Anything that is recurring, try to automate it, and things that don't happen so often, let the humans do that. Let your team do that, right? Because in 2026, you see that there's a lot of AI talk. I mean, I think there was a time we said, oh, this frenzy will go down, but it's not going down anytime soon, right?
Yeah,
we have AI and digital tools, and all these things are accessible to every single person. My advice is use them to handle your task. I think by now we shouldn't have people manually scheduling calls or scheduling stuff. You can use all of that to do your scheduling, invoicing. I think Spurt even has an invoicing tool now called Score. And yeah, you could use them for your invoicing, for your scheduling, And there are basic FAQs as well that you can use all of that too for your products and everything. I mean, what this does for you as a business, as a small business, is that it helps you sort of free up your team, like people on your team, to do to do the things that those AI or the AI cannot do, right? And those kind of things, like for example, customer relationship, AI can do that when you're having a one-on-one with a client, building that rapport. AI can do that. Solving all those your complex problems, a company has come to you for an organizational restructuring, they can only give you tips, but it might not be specific to the particular context, right? So solve those complex problems as well. Because if members of your team, or if a member of your team is doing a task that, for example, a $5 software can do, I think that you are overpaying for that task, to be honest, because I don't know why you would want to expend your human resources on something that you can just outsource to AI, right? So I would say that the human touch, the soft touch things, the human touch things, building relationship, talking to people, getting them to buy your products, all those things, you should humanize them. Use people within your team. All those other things that AI can do, sort of use AI to do them, and just sort of try to automate as much as possible. Because as a human being, I get tired of doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yes.
And so if there's something that you can do to just make the work more interesting for members of your team by using AI to already do those recurring things, you find that people find their job more interesting. They don't find it bored. Because I've been in interviews and I hear like, okay, why are you leaving your current job? They said, because I got bored. I know that that's not a good reason, but then a lot of people call their jobs wash, rinse, repeat. It's almost like doing the same thing over and over and over again. And there's nothing, they are not growing. Things that AI can do, they end up being the ones to do it and all of that. So yeah, I just feel like you should automate the things just to make it not just for your business, but to make it interesting for your team as well.
Thank you so much. It has been very enlightening.
Yeah.
And the insights that you shared are very interesting. In fact, I wish we could keep working, having this discussion because it has been very interesting. Thank you very much for joining
Thank you
us.
too, Hope, for having me. Yeah.
Yes. And I know that for many business owners that are watching, this conversation is going to shift the way that they think about their team structure, how to communications, and at the end of the day, it's so good. And so to our audience, please take a moment after this session to plan one thing that you can start doing today. And Princess has given us on something huge when it comes to automation, using AI to make your work easier and to prevent your team from getting bored and just keep them at a space where they can learn new things rather than the rinse and repeat process. And if you found this conversation very helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and share these videos to other business owners that you think will need it. Thank you again, Princess, for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you so
And
much.
to everyone else, thank you for watching. And see you next time on our coffee chat. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Hope.